Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Magically Cruising, the cruise podcast where we share our personal cruise tips and reviews to help you make the most out of your next sailing. My name's Kieran, I'm an independent travel agent specializing in all things cruise, Disney, and North America, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I write over at Cruising for All and Cruising with Kids at Mini Travelers and Extraordinary Chaos, and we share cruise tips and hints to help you plan your next cruise.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. Now, Sarah, have you seen the cruise news this week? And did you notice that one of our favorite cruise lines may have announced some details on a brand new ship?
I have, yes. It's all very exciting. I've been having a look through it today, and it's overwhelming, isn't it? Whenever our favourite cruise line or one of our favourite cruise lines releases a new ship, it's like a sensory explosion. It takes me a while to get my head around what's going on.
Definitely. It's a bit of a funny one because when you look at it on the surface, you kind of go, oh, it's another Oasis class ship. So for those guys listening at home, we are talking about Royal Caribbean and Utopia of the Seas, which is the 6th Oasis class ship that was just announced. We'd known about it for a while, but we didn't know what it was doing, where it was sailing, and what the features would be. But they just announced the details of it. And on paper, it looks like just another Oasis class ship. But when you actually then start peeling back the surface and looking at it, they've actually done a lot of new features to this ship. A lot of things that are coming to the first time ever to Royal Caribbean, but also as well features that are coming to the first time ever to an Oasis class ship as well. So I know I'm incredibly excited by this ship. I think she's got a lot going for her already without seeing all of the reveal as well. I don't know, what do you think so far?
I think it's exciting. And when you say, I mean this with love, and not just another Oasis class ship, I think in terms of categories of ships, I think they've got it all going on, haven't they? So it's hard to beat sometimes what is going on, but it looks exciting, really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing in it. I don't think unless you've been on an Oasis class ship, you can't really appreciate just how big these ships are, but also how much choice they have and how much entertainment is available on board, the different venues. So like when we did our training with Royal, they said there's 40 different venues on board for you to enjoy yourself. So whether that's kind of the mini golf, the zip wire, the rock climbing, the food and drink and venues, there's tons of options. There's over 20 eateries on board, 10 of which are complimentary. The rest are kind of speciality or like little light bites you can have. There's just so much choice, and I think that's so exciting. I love going on a ship and just having loads of choice of where you want to be, whether you're looking for a light bite or you want something a bit more sit down formal. This ship definitely has all that going for it.
So there's something that I've noticed actually. So we've got the size somewhere, haven't we? So this is a selling point for me for this ship that makes me want to book this ship above every other one. Because if you look at so the width is 154. I'm sorry if this is boring facts for some people, but it is really important. So the gross tonnage, where's the gross tonnage? 236. So it's the same as Wonder of the Seas.
Yeah.
But if this is right, this is only double occupancy. So double occupancy is 5,668. But still, I mean, there's lots of space, isn't there? And the thing that Royal Caribbean do very well, we've been on Odyssey last year and we've cruised with Royal for years, is that they channel people well. So apart from the pool, nowhere else is over busy. You don't find crowds anywhere else. It's just a pool deck. But this has got sports courts, it's got your play areas, it's got your splash pool, it's got separate pools. So actually there's lots of areas for people to disperse.
That's the one thing I noticed. And again, my experience on board Wonder was a travel agent preview event. So it was a bit of a skewed audience compared to the normal demographic. But I was really apprehensive about going on board, going like, wow, the ship's so big, there's so many people. Am I going to just feel surrounded constantly? But as you say, because they do so much for everyone. So whether you kind of got little ones and you're playing in the soft play areas, or whether you're doing the mini golf, whether you're enjoying the lounges, there's so many lounges. We were finding new bars and new places to get drinks on board. So I never felt like, oh God, this ship's heaving, this ship's full, I want to get away from everyone. I felt like I had tons of space. I could see all the shows I wanted. I didn't have to fight for space because the theatres are so big and they do so many showings as well. I didn't feel like I was overwhelmed by people, at least anyway. I was overwhelmed by the ship because there's just so much to see and do. But I never felt overwhelmed by like, oh my God, this ship is full of people, absolutely too much.
No, we never once struggled to get a drink on Odyssey of the Seas. Struggled to get a sunbed. That was because obviously it was holidays and that only has a couple of pools. We did on sea days, it was great on port days, but But there was so much else to do, it didn't matter. So it's not really a complaint. It's just you've got to decide what's important to you. And at night times, the ship wasn't overpacked. So I think that's what they do really, really well. Okay, so let's have a look at what's on board.
Well, I think let's start off by just talking about the unique thing is the itineraries as well. They're not the most exciting itineraries, and I say that with love, just because it's doing a bread and butter route. So it's doing Port Canaveral. So for those that don't know, Port Canaveral is kind of about 45 minutes away from Orlando. So if you're somebody who loves doing the Disney theme parks, the Universal theme parks, then this is going to be a perfect ship for you. Now, for American guests, that's really easy to get to. And if you want to kind of do one or two nights in kind of the Universal area, then you could totally do that. For UK guests, this is going to be fantastic for those of you that want to do kind of a 14-night break, but you want to break up a Disney trip or Universal trip. You can add on one of their 3 or 4 night sailings. So Utopia is going to be doing nothing but 4-night sailings or 3-night sailings. So Monday through to Friday, Friday through to Monday, sailing going to their private island, Perfect Day Coco Cay, which we can chat about more, I guess, in a second. But then also Nassau as well. So 2 beautiful kind of beach, water park heavy destinations. So again, you'll see this theme talk about it. They talk about the ship having bigger ways to splash. And they do talk about kind of the number of slides available on their private island and on the ship as if they're one mass together, just because this is very much aimed at those people that love that kind of water park, that beachy, beach and chill vibe type of thing. It's a very big feature of the ship. So they do talk about the number of slides total across, like say, both the ship and Perfect Day Coco Cay.
So basically, you're getting on, aren't you? You're going to Perfect Day, which I really want to go to. Every time I book a cruise, and it's like, that's where we aim to go. So we are doing the Universal and cruise next year, but we're on Mariner. But it doesn't stop at Coco Cay. I'm gutted. Came up with a dashboard the other day, and I thought, change the itinerary because my friend wants to go to Mexico, so that's what we've chosen. But
Right.
no, I'm not. So for me, I think that's a really big pull. I think it looks incredible, and I've been on the island next door and stood on deck of the ship and thought, I want to go there. It just looks incredible. It looks fantastic. So I think people will, and Americans will, I think, from my American friends and American readers, I think it's perfect for them that you can just nip for a weekend, have a bit of beach, bit of ship. It's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And this will pull people purely based on, like I said, when I say it's not the sections, I say that with love. You're not looking, this isn't going to be deep immersion in Caribbean ports. This is very much all about Perfect Day Coco Cay and Nassau. Nassau is incredibly well traveled. Ships go there all the time. It's not going to be a cultural melting pot. It is very much a cruise port. But Perfect Day Coco Cay is an attraction in itself. It is amazing. You've got the thrill side and chill side on the island. So if you want to kind of go into the water park side and do one of the slides, I think they say between the ship and between Perfect Day, there's 17 slides that you can ride over the ship and Perfect Day Coco Cay as well. But they've got, beaches on board Perfect Day. So if you want to kind of go chill side and just relax by the sea and do that, you've got that. There's 6 different beaches they say you can go to as well. They've got the Caribbean's largest freshwater pool on Perfect Day. There's music, the speakers in the pool, so you can be kind of swimming and you can hear music in the pool. Just honestly, it's the ultimate way to cool down and unwind as well.
And then if you don't like the beach, you can stay on the ship and there's nobody on it, which is also something that I really love.
Exactly.
I'm always torn when you go to a private island of, do I stay on the ship because there's no one on it? And I did that on a recent cruise and it was fab.
What I will say for Perfect Day, and I know they're expanding it to make it even bigger again, they're adding more space as well to it. But we had Wonder of the Seas in, which was pretty full with travel agents, and next to us was, I think it was Anthem. Yeah, it was Anthem actually, was next to us. So they're 2 pretty large ships with a lot of capacity on them, and never once did the island feel overwhelmed. If you like looking at the main pool by in the main pool, the freshwater pool where the bar is, then that was a bit busy, but that's intentional. They're playing music and people are in the water dancing type of thing. So it was just a nice atmosphere. But totally, we walked around the island a couple of times to go to different areas. We went into the private Coco Beach Club and did that. But we also got to walk around the beach for a couple of hours as well. And again, I don't think you can struggle to find a quiet space if you want one on Perfect Day. And that was with 2 reasonably large ships. I think about as large, short of having 2 Oasis class ships. And I don't think you can get any bigger with guests arriving into Perfect Day, and I never felt overwhelmed.
I wish we were stopping on our cruise. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I know, it's a shame, isn't it, that it's not.
We're going to Nassau, aren't we?
I'll say yes. I can't remember.
I think we are.
Yeah. I was a little bit. I'm so hard on Nassau, and I don't even know why, because I've never been there before. I just hear so many stories. I was a bit like, after 10 days at sea, your bit of land, the first bit of land is Nassau.
I know Chris is beside himself. He loves Nassau. That was his first holiday. Yeah, at 18. Can tell.
Yeah, it's funny. And some
And
people love it. I've heard mixed things about it. So I'm excited to be going anyway for the first time to experience it firsthand.
so you're gonna have to tell me a bit about this LNG power. What is it?
So LNG is liquefied natural gas. Yeah, that's a big feature. It's the first Oasis class ship to have it, and a lot more cruise ships are moving onto LNG. Now, I'm not a marine biologist and a marine scientist, but all I know from what I've been told is it is a more efficient fuel basically for operating ships. So it's going to give off less emissions, and it's going to mean the ship can run for longer as well on the fuel supply. So this is just part of cruise lines moving forward with the kind of change of technology as they discovered new technology to operate ships and making them more power efficient. LNG is going to be one of those as well, to kind of just reduce emissions as the ship is sailing. So Icon's definitely going to be LNG. And I know other cruise lines have started to introduce LNG ships as well.
Right. Okay. So because obviously River are already doing that, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Oasis Centre. That's LNG. Is that LNG? It's electric.
No, it's not. It's got an e-motion engine, so it's electric
Oh,
basically.
right.
So it runs
Right.
on diesel, but then when it gets into port, that runs on
Oh, I
battery power.
charge it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So back to this. So the boring stuff over. What is on the ship? Because that's what you want to know, don't you, when you're booking one of these ships?
Mm.
So what is on? So the Perfect Storm water slide.
So you are going to find as well, yeah, the perfect storm water slides on board, which are a lot of fun. I've done these on Wonder, and for kind of cruise ship slides, they're really fun and fast. I absolutely love them. They're a lot of fun.
Have you done the bowl one? What's it called?
No, I don't think they had one. If they did, I can't remember. I definitely did all the slides on Wonder. I have a bit of, I did do it because I got slightly stuck. I remember now. I got slightly stuck on it. So if you've ever seen one of the bowl slides, they have like this little funnel. Now this one's a bit different. You've got kind of drop bowls where you go into a big circle in the middle and there's just nothing there and you fall into the pool tank. This one's a bit different and you go into a chute at the end of it. So you spin around and then there's like a little funnel that drops you off into a typical traditional slide at the bottom of it. Just because, I've gained some weight since COVID, I got a bit stuck on that last corner. So I had to kind of like shimmy myself to get it drop down into the actual end chute to drop me off into the actual then kind of drop off point at the end.
So I suppose if you've got, so I'm saying if you've got kids and teens, but my recent cruise, I didn't take my kids and I went on all the water slides twice. So you don't
Well, we
need
don't
kids
have
to go on the
kids.
water slides. Exactly. You don't need, anybody can go on the water
Yeah,
slides. And if you
yeah,
don't go on the water slides, that's your choice. But for me,
yeah.
I love it. I think they're fab and it's fun. So I think that's a great addition that, especially on the Oasis class ships, that you could do that. And that was one thing we missed on Odyssey. I thought that I'd like slides. Okay, so what else have they got then?
So they've added as well new dining around the pool area as well. So again, playing into that whole kind of relaxing by the beach theme more, there's easier ways to grab light bites to eat as well. If you're kind of just relaxing by the pool, you don't have to always go to Windjammer or, not that you've got to get dressed to go to El Loco Fresh, but it is a bit more, of a restaurant vibe in there. So you can just go to a new food counter they've got selling kind of light Mexican bites on the pool deck. So that's really great if you just kind of want to go straight back to where your lounger is or something like that. You can totally do that as well, which I think is a really nice choice as well.
It does look really good, doesn't it? So it's called the Truck. And is it similar food to El Loco Fresh?
From what we've been told, it's kind of a Mexican bite, so burritos and tacos and things like that. They didn't give us a full menu. They just kind of gave us a couple of examples of what you could get on there. So I'm sure, knowing Royal, they will be teasing things about this ship right the way up until its launch type of thing. So there'll be surprises, I'm sure, as we go along. But so far, we've been told that, there'll be like Mexican food basically available to go.
It's amazing. So what have we got? We've got the Boardwalk, the Doghouse, Cafe Promenade, which I know that it's a cafe, but that's always my favourite because I just love that you could just nip in for sandwiches. Obviously, you've got Sorrentos, which you've got Sorrentos. My boys love Sorrentos. They've got a new, bigger Sprinkles.
So Sprinkles is now bigger on Utopia as well. So they've taken on board feedback that people just want to be able to have more choice and they want to get access to ice cream faster. So again, featured into that beachside thing, Sprinkles is now bigger. So there are 6 different flavors available. They've also now added as well a kind of topping station. So you can add your own sprinkles onto your ice cream as well. And again, that's all included. There's no extra charge for the ice cream from Sprinkles. And that's right on the pool deck as well. So really easy to get ice cream if you need to cool down as well in that Caribbean summer. I think it's just great as well.
Kids love that. I mean, my kids, when they were younger, that was they call it frozen yogurt, don't they? The frozen yogurt stand was like their biggest thing. It was the most important thing to them.
Really?
But for me, it's specialty dining. And I'm a huge, huge fan of specialty dining. So they've got all the favourites here, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've literally got it all. I'm just looking. So we've got 150 Central Park, Chef's Table, Chops Grill, Coastal Kitchen, which is for your sweet guests, Giovanni's.
One thing they were really big to point out to us in the training we did with them was about there's more options for alfresco dining. So again, I
Right.
think given the fact that this is year round in kind of the Caribbean and doing kind of that warm weather sailing, so they talked about like Giovanni's will now have alfresco dining, which it's never had before. That was the one example they gave. I'm trying to think if they gave any others. Izumi now has like Izumi in the park
Oh,
as
yeah.
well, so you can kind of get light bites to grab as well in Central Park. So they're adding more options to kind of get alfresco dining across the ship, which I think is really, really cool as well for that connection to the ocean, to being outside as well. And again, for that feeling that you're not inside a cruise ship all the time. Now, don't get me wrong, Royal do beautiful ships, but sometimes you do want to just grab a light bite and sit outside in the warm evening air or something like that. I
Yeah.
think it's great that they've added so many. They've said they've gone out of their way to add as many alfresco dining options as possible. So we've been told there's 10 alfresco dining experiences across the ship, which out of 21 options, to have 10 of them have alfresco options, I think is fantastic.
Definitely. Yeah. Especially with, well, I suppose the perfect thing for this is it's the location, is it's doing Caribbean. So it's not like we're in Norway. You can have to sit inside or sit with a
No, definitely
cagoule
not.
on. So Playmakers is on there. Now, you know, for my boys, I mean, as much as they're all cruised out, they claim, Playmakers is on, which is, Joe said the other day, if I have to go on a ship, I want to go on one with Playmakers. They love it
Really?
because
Oh,
they're
amazing.
obsessed. They would watch any sport.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good to have that option for sporty people. But there's a really special restaurant, isn't there? So I don't know anything about this, so you're going to have to tell me.
To be fair, nobody knows much about this, to be honest. They kind of kept it very tight-lipped, which again is this royal living to tease things. But they've just gone and explained that there will be a new immersive dining experience on board the ship, and I am so excited by this because I love things like this. Now, you said it when I first mentioned it to you as well. You said it, if anyone's been to Universal Orlando, you can do the Hogwarts Express between the two different parks. And I feel like this is going to be a similar experience, but I'm knowing in Royal, they'll probably have some extra surprises. But the way they explained it was you kind of go into a train terminal, train depot as part of the start of your dining experience, where you'll be greeted with cocktails and you'll have kind of a train journey experience. Then you'll be invited to sit into your carriage, which will obviously be your dining table. But then the carriage will transform around you, which I'm going to guess is going to be done via kind of video effects and special effects. But your carriage, the train will travel through different destinations as well then, and that will match the food you're dining with as well.
I imagine that is going to be very Harry Potter-esque, but I might be
Yeah,
wrong.
I weirdly, I don't know why this is the one thing I'm not the most excited. There's so much to be excited about, but this caught my attention straight away, and I was like, this is exactly the type of thing I love. That immersive, experience dining. It's just a bit different. It's something you can't get everywhere. So I think it's just so cool, and this is the type of thing you go to Royal for that game-changing new features that you don't get elsewhere.
So the first amazing specialty dining experience I ever had was on Celebrity Silhouette, because and obviously the Royal Caribbean group look at making specialty dining not just about the food, but about it being, like I say, a whole immersive experience. So they're taking this to a whole new level. So it'll be really exciting to see.
Yeah.
It'll be
Definitely. I don't know what it is about this, but this just feels special, and I think this is going to be really great. So I'm keeping my eye on this and looking forward to seeing what else they release. But literally, there's just one image and a bit of a bio about this, so it'd be exciting to see what comes.
What else have we got on there for specialties? So we've got Johnny Rockets. Johnny Rockets is back on as well. Oh, Johnny Rockets isn't on the Quantum class ships, and I missed that. Bars, it looks like they've taken off the Bionic Bar.
Really?
But I suppose it's a bit of a...
Unless so, because keep in mind as well, this is a pre-release, so obviously there's still more details to come. It could just be a case of they're redesigning the Bionic Bar and it's going to be a new concept. You never know.
Well,
So just because they may not have announced one of your favorite features now doesn't mean that it may not be coming. They just may not be ready to announce it yet, what it's going to look like on this ship.
Because they did that with Wonder, didn't they? Because we created a whole guide and then they released the mason jar.
Yes,
like,
that's the thing. So
yeah,
they could be total new surprises. This isn't the full release. We're still a year away ultimately from kind of the ship sailing. So there's still plenty of time for them to surprise us with whole new venues. Like specifically the entertainment they talked about, they said there will be 4 new shows coming to the ship. They just haven't said what they were. And now we've seen pictures of the Aqua Theatre, so we know definitely there'll be an Aqua show. And we've seen, well, we assume there will be a theatre as well, a main traditional theatre. But what else? They haven't released any details of yet.
They might be changing the theatre, you don't know, do you?
This is what's so exciting about a new ship coming out. This is why new ship comes out. Oh, anything's possible.
I really should live in Miami. I just, it's just a waste.
We'd be lethal, wouldn't we?
It's a waste of time living up north. I mean, my nearest port is Liverpool. And nobody goes, well, not many people go to Liverpool.
No, we're very lucky with the ships we get in the UK, but we don't get ships like this very often in the UK. So
No, it is exciting. So they're sticking with the 8 neighbourhoods, which I think is brilliant
yes,
because
yeah,
we nearly went on Wonder and then didn't at the last minute when the British government changed the GCSE dates. Let's change our cruise. But I love the idea of the whole suite area being together in some sort of neighbourhood. I
yeah,
think not everybody wants to travel in a suite, but I think it's good because then you're getting the ship within the ship experience.
yeah, definitely. I had a little look around it on Wonder, and it has a beautiful viewing platform. So it's at the aft of the ship, really high up as well. It's got its own pool, its own bar. So to be able to kind of go into the suite neighborhood and the suite sun deck as well, it's just so cool to have that to yourself. And if you're ever worried about kind of the main pool being too busy, then it's a no-brainer. Look at staying in a suite class if you can afford it. You'll have that kind of private little area to go to if it's too busy in the main areas for you.
Yeah, I mean it's a shame it's only the newer ships that have the pools, don't they? But is it Wonder onwards? But
I
still,
can tell
just
you,
show a
but
bit of a
definitely
depth.
on Wonder they had it.
Yeah, I think it's Wonder onwards as the pools and splash areas.
Well, the one thing to point out, though, as well about the suite neighborhood is they have introduced the Sky Junior Suite as well. Because I know
Right?
you like staying in a junior suite, and I think this is really interesting because it's something that gets brought up quite a lot. But if you stay in a junior suite, you're not really in a full suite level suite. You're kind of in this weird between space where you've got access to coastal kitchen for, is it lunch usually? So the midday meal.
Dinner, I think, but you have to book.
But you don't have access then to all the other things. You don't get access to the suite neighborhoods. You don't get access to kind of coastal kitchen for breakfast, dinner, or lunch. So
Yeah.
they've now introduced a Sky Junior Suite. So you get access to Sky Suite perks, staying in a junior suite as well, because some people just love the junior suites. But they want to pay more to have access to the full suite facility. So again, introduced on Utopia for the first time. It's going to be the first ever Sky Junior Suite, which I think is a great. And I got a funny feeling if it's successful, it'll probably start coming to other ships in the fleet as well.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, they've obviously must have made this suite area bigger to accommodate that, mustn't they?
There's bound to be some science behind it. They wouldn't release it if they didn't know they could deal with the extra people in either coastal kitchen and on the retreat, the suite area.
Definitely not. No. So casinos.
Yeah,
Do you go in the casino when you cruise? Because I don't like losing money, but I do like having a little fun.
I love
Chris likes
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
when I went on Iona with a friend, she was in there all bloody night. I was just like going backwards and
yeah.
forwards to get her drinks. But once I've lost, I've got the but I do like it. I like the buzz of it.
Phil doesn't like me going near the casino, and it's not that I've got a problem, but I do have like I generally I don't. I'm really good at kind of going. I spent $50 or this that and the other. I don't. I'm not like a pro gambler. I know people they make not a living, but they make a cruise career out of getting free
Yeah,
cruises because of how much they gamble on board. I'm not that person. I'm like a little tipple every now and then, $50 here and there. But I love slot machines. My God, do I love slot machines? The bigger, the more noises they make, the better for
really.
me. Yeah, I love them. I love slot machines.
We once went on a very first cruise with Donna and Darren, and we'd had a drink as usual. And we went to Chris and Darren were playing the card game where you have to really concentrate. I cannot concentrate at that level when I've had a
Nope.
drink. So they were playing
Yeah.
that, and so I said, "Did I just go?" And Donna won't go on the slot machine, so I put $1 in. It was when you could put money in them, and they just won 100.
Really?
I didn't even know what I was doing. I was like that, and pressing all the buttons, and she was like, cash out," and
Yeah.
so I cashed out. But I haven't really done them since. But yeah, we set ourselves a couple of $100 each a
Yeah.
cruise. And what happens is Chris ends up using mine as well, really.
And this is the thing, like it is a lot of fun if you are that way inclined. I think you just this is this whole be safe, be responsible thing. Set yourself a limit is my biggest
Yeah.
rule. I always say if I'm gonna do it, it'll be either $50 or $100, and I'll spend that. And if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. But I've been entertained while I'm doing it. And you have to know when to walk away, and that's usually me. I go right, that's it, that's my limit. Once I've spent it, I've gone.
Yeah.
There is a myth, and I don't know how much science there is behind this, but there is a myth that the slot machines pay out more at the beginning of a voyage sailing, just because they want to get you hooked on that excitement of, oh, I'll give it another go just in case. So you're more likely to win on night 1 and night 2 than you will on the rest of the sailing, is the theory.
Really?
Whether that's true, I've never tested it, so I don't gamble enough to find out, but I've seen it mentioned multiple times now that that's how they do it. They kind of give you a couple of wins at the beginning to get you to come back and keep gambling all the way through.
I do like having a go, but yeah, it's not. But I love watching people that are just big hitters because it just fascinates me. So you'd only think they've got a Mulberry handbag on their table, and it's like,
That is how they've got it
give
for
it
their
all to
gambling.
me. Go to a shop.
I do
But some
debate
people are just
becoming a
good at it.
professional gambler. When I hear about people who win free cruises because of how much they gamble, I do debate, like, do I want to drop 3-4 grand in slots or in the tables on a cruise to try and win a cruise? Or I'm kind of like, you're just paying for it anyway. And I know some people say, yeah, but sometimes you win it back and you're not paying. But I don't know.
I
See,
said
it's
to Donna,
fascinating and interesting.
we should do it as an experiment.
Really.
Invest and do
That
it as
could
an
be
experiment.
that could be a challenge when we're on our next cruise together on the
Yeah,
transatlantic.
to
We
win
should
a
see
cruise.
how much. Yeah. But we should maybe go on with the thing of one night we spend $100 each between us and see who wins the most at the end of it, who has the most left
We
at the
should
end.
actually, yeah.
You have to put $100 through the slots, and then it's how much you got left afterwards.
I'd watch Darren though. He'll definitely cheat. He'll cheat. Not the casino, but he'll put more in. Right. So what else have we got? So we've got, what's the attic?
So the Attic is the comedy club, and I've seen this. So
Right.
with the Icon release, Royal have said they're not putting a bigger emphasis, but they apparently invest more in comedians on board the ships than any of the cruise line, and they're reinforcing that moving forward. So I feel like this is that Verge concept coming to Utopia as well. So there's a Manhattan-themed comedy club that has its own venue now as well. So kind of there'll be regular comedians happening throughout the night as well. So I think that's really cool. Again, just giving you that choice. Not everybody likes a comedian, but now you've got the choice to do it, and it's not taken away from the main theatre by having its own dedicated venue as well.
Did you do the zip line on Wonder?
No, I got a massive paralyzing fear of heights. So while I'll do things like the Ultimate Abyss, I definitely won't do the zip line.
I'd do it, I think. Right. So another thing on here that I've noticed is they've got Starlink.
Oh, Starlink Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
And
and it's fantastic. Yeah. And so another brand that I sail with frequently, those who listen regularly will know who I'm on about, have just changed over to Starlink, and it's made a massive difference to their Wi-Fi overnight.
I think it might have been on the last ship I sailed on as well. I might, because it was around
Really?
that time that they. But it does make
Yeah.
a difference, because if like the cruise that we're going to do together next year, I will be working for a couple of days.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Well,
I've
that's the
fitted that
difference. I
in.
could work.
Yeah, that's it. So you can work, and I think that makes a big difference. Right. So if you're traveling with kids and teens, there's endless amounts of things to do. And again, if people like these ships with all the bells and whistles and all the stuff going on, then you've got the kids clubs, you've got Splashaway Bay, which is always a great one. I'm imagining this will have a baby splash pool, because I mean, in our Facebook group, that is a big sticking point. Should we just explain what that is? Because people get quite grr about it, don't they? But basically, so Splashaway Bay is, you've got your kids' swimming area, it's splash pool slides, and then they separate off a separate bit, and that's just for babies in nappies, diapers. So they can't go in the other bit. But in my thinking, because when we cruised, there wasn't that for kids, and you had to fight. I mean, I remember once really fighting to let Joe go in the pool. And it was only because actually the other passengers on ship said they didn't mind, but that doesn't always happen. The laws are stricter now, so they cannot go in the pool. So with this baby splash area, they can go in, and if there's any accidents, it's shallow. But what it means is that babies and children, it's shaded, they've got an area that they can swim. So I would really say that when you're booking a cruise with a baby, or a toddler that's in diapers or nappies, Royal Caribbean is an excellent choice, because they do have these areas.
Yeah, definitely. The more modern ships always, as far as I can remember, always have some sort of splash area for toddlers.
Like in our group, the amount of people that are really hugely disappointed because they've got on a ship and they weren't allowed to even touch the water. And that's how strict they are, because it's maritime law. There's no bending on it. There's a lot of anti-children people on ships that kick off. So you're better off protecting yourself and finding a ship with one of these. It makes a big difference to your cruise.
Definitely, yeah. No, and I think this is again though, this sheer abundance of space on a ship this big. You're going to have obviously the nursery and all the kind of childcare features you're going to get as well that Royal are really famous for. But yeah, just having those facilities on the pool deck as well for the little ones, it's just perfect. And I hate saying the word perfect, so I don't think anything is perfect, but it's as close to perfect for families as you'll find.
Well, they've also put the Utopia Playscape in, which again was a new thing on the Wonder, wasn't it? So they've got a separate, replacing one of the flow riders, but they've got a separate play area at the back for the kids. So you know a bit more about that, don't you?
Not a massive amount, but just from looking at the artwork and from the pictures they showed in the training, at least anyway, I've got no pictures to hand, but it just looks like they've rethought the one that was on Wonder. So the one on Wonder gets a bit of criticism because it's just like a bit of a mini maze, and there isn't a lot to climb on or for kids to slide on, whereas this now has like more things for them to actually walk on and kind of run around and let off a bit of steam. So there's a bit more interactive, whereas the one on Wonder it just got a bit of harsh criticism because it's not the most exciting thing to do. It's just a couple of tall things for kids to kind of run around in circles, whereas this actually has like a climbing net and it has slides and things like that. So I think they've just rethought it and made it a bit more interactive. They've also made the mini golf bigger as well, so the mini golf is the biggest as well they've had so far. So they've just got more
Right.
room for these things. They've just, like I said, they've just rethought things out of just kind of, okay, how can we make this a bit bigger? Things like the Ultimate Abyss is also the longest as well, so it's longer than any Ultimate Abyss on any Oasis class ship. It's got a clear area now as well, so you can kind of see directly down whilst you're actually on the slide. And they've got speed up boosters, they call them. So there's like rollers that will speed you up to make it go even faster. And Ultimate Abyss is fast already, but it doesn't need any, it doesn't need to be faster, but it will now be faster as well. So again, it's just like
Right.
amplifying, and that's the word they use all the time at Royal. They just amplify what they already have and make it even better again.
Brilliant. So I've actually just seen that the godmothers to be confirmed. So Royal Caribbean, if you're listening, Kieran and myself are up for the job. Godmother. We could be the
I
fairy
will happily do
godmothers.
that. I will happily do that role. I'll buy the tutu myself for it.
My goddaughters actually call me their fairy godmother because I've actually trained them to do that.
Today. I did go through a period when I was initially started up saying, think of us as your fairy godfathers, but I've kind of stopped saying that now with a magical traveller name. I don't know why, I just stopped saying it now. One venue I want to talk about that I'm really excited about, and this is just how much of an alcoholic I am, is Pesky Parrot. This is a new space. It's going to be in Royal Promenade, so I don't know exactly where, but this is going to be a new kind of mojito. It's going to be like a tiki lounge. And I love tiki bars. I love tiki lounges. So when I saw this on the release, I was like, this ship is just singing to me in so many ways. But they're going to have like all the Caribbean flavor cocktails, so mojitos. You're going to get all your tiki drinks, things like that. I can see me spending many, many hours in the evenings in this bar.
It reminds me of a place that we went to in Miami last time we went, and the atmosphere was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like it'll be a whole, and I love that when you got a new bar and it's something you need to find on a ship, because I love the bars on Royal Caribbean. I mean, my absolute favourite is Schooners. And I know
Yes.
that's not
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
themed, but I just think Squiz, old school, I do love the Squiz. Won several last cruise.
I don't think they've released any artwork for it yet, but it is definitely back. I've seen it as well listed,
Yeah,
so
I've
it's
got it
definitely
here.
back.
And then you got your solarium and Trellis bar. So you've got all your favourites as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I've never done? The Rising Tide bar.
No. This is the problem with a bar that moves. So for those people that don't know, there is a bar on board the ship that is on an elevator. So it does appear at different floors. So sometimes it's part of Royal Promenade, and then you get on it, and it'll take you up to Central Park, isn't it? It goes up to, and you get off at Central Park.
Right.
So it goes up and down ultimately, and you've got to be on the right floor at the right time when it's going up or down to kind of sit on it. But you do have to stay on for the duration. It takes about 30 minutes apparently for it to go up or to go down. So you do have to kind of be willing to sit on it for the duration that it is going up. But it's just like this little bar that's ultimately on a kind of floating platform that raises up between the different floors.
I've actually been on FaceTime to Donna and Darren while they've been on the Rising Tide bar. So technically, I have. Because she does that. She
I'm in a
just
scenic
randomly
tour.
FaceTimes me from bars. So I can go on a bit of a pub crawl with them when they're cruising. Not that we talk a lot at all.
I think, though, again, it's just those cool touches, though, isn't it? Like, you know, they don't need to have a bar that's on an elevator platform that lifts you between decks, but they can. Why not?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just cool.
Exactly. No, I think it's exciting. So the maiden voyage.
They haven't released the maiden voyage yet. So
Right.
what they've done so far is they've put July 2024 right the way through to April. Let me get it in front of me so I give the exact right date, because I don't want to give the wrong date and then have somebody saying, like, you told me it was. So far they've put July 2024 through to April 2025 on sale. Like I say, she's doing 3-night sailings Friday to Monday, doing Port Canaveral, Nassau, Perfect Day Coco Cay, then back to Port Canaveral. Then 4-night sailings Monday to Friday, doing Port Canaveral, Nassau, day at sea, Perfect Day Coco Cay, then back to Port Canaveral. Now, June is the official date that she is going on sale. I haven't heard this officially, I'm insinuating this, but I get the impression because ships are being a bit temperamental with their maiden sailings at the moment, I feel like they've not put the maiden sailing on sale because they don't want to commit to it this far out. And I got a funny feeling it may go out on sale. So the first sailing that is available to book at the moment, I said to you earlier, didn't I? So let me go back into the system and I will tell you what the first sailing that you can book at the moment is. But they have officially said she goes on sale in June, but you can't book June as of this time. So if you want to be on the maiden, then you may have to hold out and see what happens. But the first sailing that's available is the 22nd of July at the moment, 2024.
Right. So there may be a chance that it's earlier.
I've just seen it. I can't remember exactly what ship off the top of my head, but there was one ship that was released and then it finished, I think it was 3 weeks early. So they added on extra sailings. And obviously that caused a bit of tension with people who thought they were on the maiden who now aren't. But then equally, there's been a lot of ships in the last 2 years that have missed their maiden sailings that people were booked on and they've had to cancel them. And then somebody who was booked 2-3 sailings later ends up on the maiden. So, and again, I'm insinuating this just because it's odd that they say it's available from June 2024, but there's nothing you can book until July. I feel like this is them just playing it safe with construction deadlines just to make sure that they know exactly when she can sail.
So I think we've almost covered everything there, haven't we? I mean, we said we'd do a quick 10 minutes.
I don't even think we know how to anymore.
But I think it's a really exciting ship. I think there's lots going on. And I think, like you say, I like the fact they've tweaked it all a bit. And I don't sell cruises. I don't need to sell it to anyone. But yeah, exciting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic. Like I say, for people in the UK, this is the perfect choice if you want to kind of do that Orlando 7-10 day break and then add on a cruise. If you've never cruised before, you want to try it. You're not going to be listening to this podcast if you've never tried cruising before, maybe. But this will be the perfect one to try that for if you wanted to. Equally for American guests, if you want to go away for a weekend, then you've got that fantastic Friday to Monday sailing short break again. But also you could do a back-to-back. So if you absolutely love Perfect Day Coco Cay, then you could do a back-to-back and do it twice in 1 week, which I think, from my memory, this is one of the few ways you can do it, is to book a 3-night, 4-night sailing back-to-back to be able to do Coco Cay more than once in a week. And then equally, if you like this class of ship, Wonder of the Seas is sailing 7-night sailings, East and West Caribbean from Port Canaveral as well. So if you maybe want to go off and do the same type of ship, but on a longer sailing and going off to the actual Caribbean islands, then you can also look at Wonder of the Seas sailing from the exact same port on 7 nights and rotating sailings as well. Cool. So guys, I hope that's given you a little bit of excitement towards Utopia of the Seas. Honestly, I think it's such an exciting ship and those itineraries are great as well. So if you are somebody from the UK and you would love to look at booking her, then definitely get in touch with me and you can find me anywhere online under magical-traveler.com, or you can find me on all my social media under magical TRVLR, and I would love to help you get on board Utopia or any of the Royal Caribbean ships. Now, Sarah, I know obviously you are an expert in all things Royal, but you've got tons of information about Royal on your website. Where's the best place people can find that?
So you can find us on Cruising for All or cruisingwithkids.com. It's the same website, but just 2 names. And we've got lots of cruise information, tips and advice on there.
Other than that, guys, all the best, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.